Hello, peeps. Welcome to We Need to Talk with Chris Godinez. Happy New Year's Eve and all that sort of good stuff. So I just wanted to say a ginormous thank you to everyone who has been watching these videos, all the viewers out there. It has been immensely gratifying and humbling to know that I have been walking this journey with you. I have been receiving all sorts of thank you cards, thank you letters, emails, IMs, messages on YouTube. It's been so amazing to know that I have helped so very many of you, and I am grateful that you have allowed me to help you, and I am happy that you are moving on, and I am happy that you are taking care of yourselves and doing what you need to be doing. So good job, you guys. Keep going. Don't stop. So that's kind of what I wanted to do this video about, is new year, new you. New year, new you. So what is the way to move forward? How do we keep moving forward in all of this? Also, I wanted to do a shout out to listener viewer Shelly. I was down in Puerto Penasco and I was walking along the beach with my husband, and this big, beautiful Rhodesian Ridgeback came up to us and started, playing and everything. And so we started petting him, and this person came up to us and said, "Oh my God, are you Chris?" And I'm like, "Yes." And then she told me her story and how the videos had been helping her. And that was deeply, deeply humbling and deeply gratifying. And I thank her a lot. And the thing that she pointed out to me is that we need to keep going. We need to keep educating. We need to keep telling people about abuse, and we need to keep educating them on stalkers. We need to keep educating them on the court systems. We need to get as many lawyers into these seminars that I'm going to be doing as possible, as many judges as we possibly can. And yes, I am going to be going on tour. First stop is going to be in Atlanta. It is going to be at the end of April, so somewhere around the 22nd or so. Don't have a firm date yet, but I will get it. So we need to get as many people in the court system to come to these seminars, to watch these videos, to educate themselves so that they understand when they're dealing with a high conflict divorce situation, that it's not just somebody complaining and whining and, "Oh, I hate my ex, blah, blah, blah." No, I'm saying my ex is abusive and my ex is stalking me and my ex is using the court system basically to abuse me. So super important that we keep educating, we keep going. So anyway, it's been very gratifying knowing that these videos are helping. So thank you. You can only help the willing. Those of you who are willing, good job. Keep going. I'm really proud of you. Awesome deal. Okay, so new year, new you. So after having left an abusive relationship, we are broke. Our pickers are broken. Our pickers are broken. And this is addressing a question that I received through instant message. So the question was also on not just how do I pick a romantic partner, but how do I pick a friend? Because I find myself getting involved with people who are high conflict, lots of drama, lots of histrionic, lots of, all of this stuff going on. So what's going on? What's going on is our picker is broken, guys. So in that first year after having left an abusive relationship, you cannot trust yourself. You can't, because you've learned not to. So in this new year after having left the abuse, it's really important that you find yourself and that you find your picker and that you find who you are and what you want, not what everybody else wants. What do you want? And that's really hard for us, because if we're dealing with the codependency, if we're dealing with the need to please, if we're dealing with, constantly worrying about what everybody else thinks, right? It's really hard to focus in on ourselves. Now, abusers are going to view that as being selfish, and they're going to tell you, "Oh, well, you're being selfish. You're being this, you're being that." Well, yeah, because you're not giving 120,000% to the abuser, whether that's family, whether that's friends, whether that's your romantic partner or whatever. You need to focus in on you. You have to. You have to. And there's a huge difference between narcissistic, it's all about me, and self-esteem, I need to work on myself, okay? So the difference is with narcissism, it's a shout, it's look at me, look at me, look at me, or it's a, I'm a victim, I'm a victim, I'm a victim, I'm a victim, right? With self-esteem, it's just that little voice going, "Oh, wow, hi, yeah, you're a good person, do this, this is great, this feels good, I like the way this feels, it's like positive." Does that make sense? Yes, Shannon, I am live today. So Happy New Year's to everybody, by the way. Happy New Year's, Christopher. Happy New Year's, Maria. Happy New Year's, Shannon. So it's different than narcissism. And abusers will tell you you're being selfish when you're taking care of yourself. It's just what they do. So what you do is you continue to take care of you, and you continue to work on what you want and what you need. Now, one way to do that is, remember, when we have come out of an abusive relationship, we are so stuck in that disease to please. We are so stuck in that codependency thing and wanting to make sure everybody else is okay, that we've put all of our needs and all our wants on the back burner. So we have got to put ourselves on the front burner. We do. So hopefully you will have left that abusive relationship, or you will have gray rocked, distanced yourself from a family that is abusive, or friends that are abusive, or whatever, and you're going to start taking care of yourself. And the way to do that is you start journaling. You start journaling. You start journaling. Who are you? Who are you? What do you want? What do you need? What will make you happy? What did you used to like to do when you were a little kid? What were the things that brought you joy? The thing about being with an abuser is they tend not to have much of a sense of humor unless it's snarky or nasty or cruel or vicious or mean or sarcastic or sardonic. That's their kind of humor. A normal, healthy humor is joyful. Dancing. Yes. When was the last time you threw on Duran Duran or whoever you listen to and you just danced? You just rocked out. Do it. Go find that happy inner child. Go take care of you. Yes, dancing is awesome. Go take dance classes. Go do whatever it is that makes you happy. What did you used to like to do before you got involved with the abuser? Or what did you used to like to do when you were a little kid? What did you like to do? Finger painting, flying a kite, bowling, going for walks, talking to animals, volunteering? What is it that lit your fire? Because that's what we've lost. Because here's the crazy thing. Remember, when we are in an abusive relationship, the very thing that the abuser is attracted to is also the very thing that they will eventually want to snuff out of you, because they're jealous, because they can't possess it. They can't have the empathy. They can't have the joy. They can't have the creativity. They don't have that. They don't. And it's not genuine and it's not true. They can mimic, but it's never organic. It's never really who they are. They don't feel that joie de vivre. They just don't, because they are disordered. So you want to get back to the things that brought you joy, that made you laugh, that gave you happiness, that gave you the thing that made you keep going. Does that make sense? So in this new year, what I would love for you guys to do is I would love for you to, yes, absolutely, as you are leaving an abusive relationship, you do have to educate yourself on it. I agree 110% that it's really, really important. Yes, you're going to want to read The Object of My Affection is in My Reflection, Coping with a Narcissist by Raquel Lerner. You want to understand the narcissist. You've got to understand how they're going to act, because remember, from here until about March is when most of the hoovering happens in the year, because we've got, we had Christmas, now we've got New Year's tonight, and we've got Valentine's Day coming up. So this is when abusers are going to be pushing hard and fast for hoovering, for rings, for commitment, for whatever. So if you are out of that relationship, be prepared. They are going to hoover between now and probably about March. That's generally when they do their hoovering, because it's all of the major holidays. So, you want to understand how the narcissist thinks so that you can protect yourself. Absolutely. Now that you've been out for a while, though, you need to start focusing in on you, which means you start working on the original wound. That means you go back. You figure out what it was in your past. Who was the caregiver that set you up, that groomed you to be codependent? Work on that issue. You work on that issue, you're going to start being able to make deal breakers. Now, that was another question that I got asked. So in a friendship, what do you consider a deal breaker? Well, here's the deal. Friendships, romantic relationships, family relationships, all the same, really, when you think about it. So the basis of a healthy relationship for anything is respect and trust. So if there is no respect, there is no trust. If there's no respect and trust, there's no love. If there's no love, there's no point. So you want to make sure that your relationships, no matter who they are with, are respectful, have trust, and have love. And if those things are not there, then why are you in this relationship? You cannot get blood from a turnip. You can't. If you're continually going to a well that's dry, expecting it to somehow immediately have water, it ain't going to happen. Abusers do not change. They do not. Okay? I cannot emphasize that enough. Once an abuser, once they've reached malignancy, once they've harmed people, it's a done deal, guys. They're not changing. It's not, don't believe them when they do the whole, oh, baby, I've changed. It'll never happen again. I promise it'll be different this time. Yada, 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 whatever. You don't want to believe them. So you want to understand how abusers abuse, absolutely. But then once you've gotten to that point, now you need to start working on you. Now you need to start working on how to heal that original wound. So that means going back, getting with a good therapist, working with somebody who understands inner child work. You're going to want to get with somebody who gets working on that original wound and helping you heal that inner 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 10-year-old, 12-year-old, wherever it was that the damage occurred. That's what you're going to want to be doing. So with that goes finding you. So how do we find ourselves once we've lost ourselves? The best way is to spend time by yourself. So this is the biggest mistake that people make, is that they jump immediately into another relationship because they're terrified of being alone because of this, the inner dialogue. So remember, I keep talking about the inner dialogue. How we talk to ourselves is how things will turn out. We create our own reality. And if we're sitting there constantly telling ourselves, oh my God, I can't be alone, I can't be alone, I can't be alone, I can't be alone, then we believe that we can't be alone, and we will grab onto the first person that comes into our line of vision in a desperate effort to not be alone, because we don't want to be listening to this, which is not good. I shared this with someone. I thought you were the antidote, but it turned out you were the poison. I'm not drinking from that well anymore. Yeah. So it's really important that when we leave an abusive relationship, we don't dive into immediately new friendships, new relationships, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because you need time to heal. You need time to figure out, what do you want? What are your deal breakers? When you start working on that original wound, when you start working on your self-esteem, which means you start working on your self-respect and you start loving yourself, you're going to start coming up with your own list of deal breakers. Because like I said, our picker is broken. We will gravitate naturally to the drama. We will gravitate naturally to the chaos, because that's what we're used to. That's what the inner child is used to. So we're going to go for what's known, right? Better the devil we know than the devil we don't. That's what we tend to do. So if you find yourself continually being with friends or lovers or whatever that are chaotic, drama-filled, abusive, etc., you're not doing the work. You're not doing the work. You got to do the work, which means you've got to stay single. You've got to go to therapy. You've got to work on yourself. You've got to get with a good therapist and start working on that original wound. You've got to sit down and journal. Who are you? Really? Who are you? Is it who the abuser said you were? No. Is it who your family said you were? Probably not. Is it who your friends are saying you are? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on what the friends are. Are they healthy or are they not healthy? So you've got to start figuring out who you are first and foremost, so that nobody else can tell you who you are. Because that's what abusers live for. And they will generally tell you the negative stuff. They're not the ones that are going to, well, okay, in the love bombing phase, they will be, oh, you're perfect, you're wonderful, you're this, you're that, you're the other thing. But then as time goes on, suddenly you can do no right. And here's the other clue. If somebody is never happy, if you can never please them, that's abuse. It is, because that's not normal. Hi, Chris. I have a question, if I may. What about when you're at the point of figuring out what you actually want to do for your career-wise? Any tips on figuring it out? I'm considering going back to university, but I want to be careful in making sure that's the right choice. There's unlimited options of things people could do out there. Do you have any advice on finding what's right, fulfilling, and meaningful and nourishing for us? I would suggest daydreaming. It's a great way to figure things out. It's like, where does your mind generally gravitate to? Which career does your mind see yourself doing? That's a great way to start figuring things out. You know, you write it down. What are your feelings? What are your thoughts? How do you feel about this career? How do you feel about that career? Can you see yourself 20, 30, 40 years in the future still doing that career? Or is this career just a stepping stone to do something else? You know, and that's okay too, because, you know, things have changed radically. It used to be that you went to university, you got your degree, and that's what you did, right? Not anymore. It's like you go to university, you get your degree, you go through life, you grow up a little bit, and you go, oh shit, that's not what I want to do. And then you go and you find something else, and you go back to university and you do something else. So it's what makes you happy. That's the important thing. It's like, can you see yourself being happy in this career? Do you find yourself looking forward to waking up every morning and going and seeing your clients? Do you find yourself, you know, looking forward to the stuff that you do, or do you view it as drudgery? If you're viewing it as drudgery, that is the wrong career. If you're looking at it as, oh my God, I'm going to be in a cubicle for the next, 30 years of my life. Holy crap. No, that's not the right career for you. Look at something else. Look at doing something else. If you're an active person, maybe you should go into something that's a little more active than sitting behind a computer. Computers are not for everybody. They're certainly not for me. I couldn't stand it. So, yeah, you want to sit down and have a list and then write it out. It's like, how do I really feel about this? And be honest with yourself. And that's part of self-trust, is that we have learned to not trust our gut. Why? Because our abusers have told us up is down, black is white, green is yellow, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we've learned not to trust our gut. You've got to get back in touch with your natural intuition. What does your gut say? What does your gut say about this profession, or this career, or this university, or this course, or this choice, or this professor, or whatever? Trust your gut. And that is something I cannot teach. That's the hard part. It's like, how do I explain this? I can teach you all the techniques in the world. I cannot teach you how to start listening to your gut, except to tell you to start listening to your gut. Listen to that feeling. Every single time I have gone against my gut, something horrible has happened. And every single time I listen to my gut, it turns out okay. That's the best thing I can tell you. It's like we all have that natural intuition. Abusers play on that and tell us we're wrong. No, you don't. Gaslight. You don't know that. No, you're not feeling that. No, you don't want that. Just like, and it starts early in families, when mom and dad are at the grocery store and the kid says, I want chocolate. And the parent, instead of saying, no, you can't have it, says, no, you don't want that. That's gaslighting, guys. That's setting us up to go, wait, shoot, I want that, but they're telling me I don't want that. Holy cow. So, you got to start trusting your gut. That is the biggest thing. You've got to start writing things down. Why? Because when we get them out of our head and we get them onto paper and we read them out loud, it makes it real to us. And it helps us process it. This is part of CBT. This is part of cognitive behavioral therapy. This is why we do a lot of homework assignments. This is why I have people journal. This is why I have people write letters. This is why I have people write things out, because we need to get it out of our head, because otherwise it's just this endless loop of, oh God, okay, well, this and that, and oh my gosh, and what about this, and a squirrel, and you're never going to get it straight if you don't get it out of your head and get it onto paper. And especially when we have left an abusive relationship, our abuser has literally gotten into our head, like with one of those old beaters, egg beaters, and has just scrambled our brains so that we don't know left from right, up from down, green from yellow, et cetera, et cetera. I was told you have nothing to want. Oh, Bunny, I'm sorry. It's so true what you just mentioned about doing things we love. I'm slowly going back to those things I always knew I loved doing, but gave up because of the abuse. It feels weird in the beginning. Yes, it does, because we've been told it's not okay. Thank you, Arthur. I appreciate that. When we are with an abuser, they make us give up our family and friends. They do. If the family and friends are healthy, they make us give them up. If they're not healthy, they encourage that to continue on. And they basically insist that their friends are okay, but your friends are not. And it's probably because your friends see who the person really is. So when we get out of an abusive relationship, we're incredibly lonely because we've lost a lot of people, and we are grieving the loss of the would-be relationship. And I think that is something that a lot of therapists overlook, is that part of finding ourselves again is allowing ourselves to grieve the loss of what could have been had the person been normal. But you don't want to get stuck in that, because that's not reality. That person is who they are. They are never going to change. They are never going to be different. Okay. But we are mourning that loss of that mask that they showed us when they were in the love bombing phase. So we've got to get through that mourning period. That also means being alone for a while. And yes, are we going to be lonely? Yes, because we have not learned how to listen to our gut, listen to ourselves, listen to our intuition, enjoy our own company, and spend enough time with ourselves to know who and what we want to be around. Back to the deal breakers. I knew I got off track. So deal breakers. So a deal breaker is anybody who causes an inordinate amount of drama in your life. Anybody who puts you down, makes you feel bad. You feel worse after having been with them. Anybody who lies. Oh, sweet baby Jesus. I will put up with a lot of shit. You freaking lie to me, we're done. Absolutely. No lying. No drama. Drama belongs on the stage, and that's it. No bullshit. No stirring the pot. None of that stuff. So you come up with a list of deal breakers, write them down, get them onto paper. And this goes for family, this goes for friends, and this goes for lovers. And the question I had is, okay, well, do you just immediately X them out of your life the first time they cross one of those boundaries? No, but what I do is I have a come to Jesus meeting with them. And I basically say, this is a boundary. This got crossed. This will not be crossed again. And if it is, we're done. Period. Not playing. And then if they cross it again, then it's hasta. And I'm peace out, because I'm not putting up with it. Life is too goddamn short. Life is too goddamn short to put up with bullshit. It really is. Okay. I also think we grieve the loss of ourselves following an abusive relationship. Yes, because in some cases we've lost days, weeks, months, years, decades, and we grieve that time lost. However, what you also have to remember is that this has been an incredible learning experience. Painful as all fuck, but it's been an incredible learning experience. So is it really lost? Yes and no. So you grieve that part, but then you also rejoice in, now I have this knowledge, and now I never get to be abused again, because now I've got that power. I've got that knowledge. Okay. Hi, Chris. Stopped the relationship 2 months ago. Felt like a little girl in the relationship. He tried to minimize me so many times, never being heard by him. My feelings did not count. Yes. So they absolutely, they minimalize us. They minimalize our feelings. They tell us we're wrong. They gaslight, they lie, they cheat, they steal, you name it, they effing do it. And then they say that everybody else is just like them, which is just crazy. So our pickers are broken, guys. So when we go into any sort of healing mode, we got to grieve. We got to grieve the loss of the time. We've got to grieve the loss of the, recognizing the illusion that this person was not who they said they were. We've got to grieve that. We've got to grieve whatever else that we've given up. Because a lot of people, oh my goodness, I hear so many times, I gave up my hobbies. I gave up my friends. I gave up my family. I gave up my career. I gave up this for this person. I gave up that for that person. In fact, there was an interesting thing that was trending on, I don't know if it was Twitter or Facebook. I think it was Twitter. And it was an argument at an airport between a boyfriend and a girlfriend. And the boyfriend was obviously not a healthy person and was demanding that the girlfriend not accept this amazing job offer because she'd be making more money than he was. And he couldn't handle the embarrassment. I'll give you 3 guesses what I think he is. And she finally threw the ticket in his face and said, this is not the 1950s. I'm out of here. Goodbye. I'm going to go give my career. You're not worth it. And it's interesting. A lesser person would have given in to him. A lesser person would have, oh my gosh, I don't want to lose the relationship. I can't be alone. I need to have this relationship. I'm sorry, but if somebody is making you choose between a career you love and them, pick the career. Because a healthy person doesn't do that. A healthy person supports. Healthy person supports and says, go you. You're awesome. Go you. Hi, Chris. Any suggestions if you're completely alone? I've got my children, but nobody else to even talk to. How do I get past that? I've got a counselor I see weekly. My ex turns up every 3 to 4 days and knocks me back. So want to thrive, but not sure how when he keeps reappearing and I've got nobody to speak to. Get into a support group. Hugely, hugely important. And thank you, Karen, for bringing that up. So it's really important that we get into a support group for domestic violence, for abuse. Now, are there going to be abusers in those groups? Possibly. Possibly. You know, just like there's abusers on the internet, and there's abusers out in the real world. So you want to be careful when you get into a support group, but get into a support group. Get into a support group for divorce. Get into a support group for, you know, people going through custody issues. Get into support groups. These are hugely important for us because they give us a way to be with other people who have been there, done that. Because what we tend to do as human beings is that we tend to do this thing of, oh my God, nobody has been through this. I'm a total freak. Oh my God, I'm completely alone in the universe. No, you're not. You're not. You are not tragically unique. There are a bunch of us out there. So get into a support group. Get into a support group. And that's the ego talking. I just want to make that clear. It's not that, you know, you're playing the victim card. It's the ego talking. So you got to get the ego out of the way and go to a support group, get with other people who've been there, done that, and they'll give you some suggestions for how to get through seeing your spouse every 3 to 4 days. Again, work on yourself. Work on CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker with your therapist. Work on The Disease to Please by Harriet Breaker. Work on the Self Esteem Workbook by Schiraldi, Glenn Schiraldi. You want to do that because, yeah, your ex is going to continually push those buttons and trigger you, but the problem of it is that you're still in that attached phase. You still care what he thinks or she thinks. So you've got to get detached. You've got to understand this person is not good for you. Practice detachment. Detachment is the Buddhist concept of, okay, yes, I can love you as a child of the universe, and I have no energy on the outcome. I have no energy on the outcome. It is what it is. You are who you are. I am who I am. I choose not to be around you. I choose not to have idiot compassion. You're more than welcome to go live your life. And yes, you're the father of my children, but you know what? I have nothing for you. I got nothing. So yeah, that's what you want to do. So go get into a support group. Usually support groups don't cost any money. That's one of the benefits, especially since I deal with a lot of women who have been just financially wiped out by these jerks. So yeah, you want to do that. Get into a support group, and you can look it up online. You can just type in support groups for domestic violence. You can contact Catholic Charities. You can contact Jewish Family Services. You can contact, AuntBertha.com. AuntBertha.com is a social services website that conglomerates all of the social services in your area. So if you're needing a support group, look at AuntBertha.com. They probably got one on there. Or you can go to Meetup. You can go to Meetup.com, and they will have support groups there as well. Again, be careful, because not all support groups are the same. Not all are run by therapists. Some are just run by average Joes. So you want to be, thank you. You want to be cognizant of that. I hope that answered your question. Okay, my whole family does almost all the deal breakers, and I talked about how painful it is. They told me I'm too sensitive. First and foremost, there is no such thing as too sensitive. Everyone's perception is correct. It is. It's your perception. So when somebody says, oh, you're being too sensitive, what they're trying to say is I don't like it. That means I'm going to have to change, so I'm going to make you wrong. So that's, yeah, okay. And take things too seriously. The last 2 years, I spend New Year's alone. This has affected me to the point where I have no friends. I think all the trauma had made me off and socially awkward in a lonely place. Again, Elena, go to a support group. Get into therapy. Get into a support group. Start working on that stuff. Start working on boundaries. So boundaries are going to be part of this New Year's resolution, guys. This is it. Boundaries and deal breakers. Boundaries and deal breakers. It's all about boundaries. It's all about deal breakers. So what are your boundaries? What will you and will you not put up with? And just because they're family does not mean you have to hang out with them. If you were not related to these people, would you have anything to do with them? If the answer is no, act accordingly. You are under no obligation to them. Even if they're your mom and dad. And I love it when people are like, oh, but they're my mom and dad and they gave birth to me and blah, 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 blah. If they're abusive, they're abusive. You don't have to be around them, period. You just don't. Okay. No contact for over a year. A nice man tried talking to me and showed interest threw me into a full-blown panic attack. Yes, don't trust men or my judgment about them anymore. Yeah, Donna, that's normal, guys. That's why I'm saying it's important to stay single for a while so that you can start listening to your gut and you can work on the panic, which is part of CPTSD, right? Because we've been abused over and over and over again. So when somebody shows interest in us, yeah, we are going to be like, oh my God, I'm not so sure about this. Holy cow. But we're not listening to our gut. Listen to your gut, listen to your gut, listen to your gut. If your gut is saying, yeah, this guy's dangerous, then listen to your gut. If your gut is going, hey, he's okay, then it's okay. But you're not going to be able to hear that because this is going, blah, 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 and this is going, blah, 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 and you've got to shut these two up so that you can listen to that. Which means working on CPTSD, working on the panic attack. What was the threat? What was the threat? Where was the fear? What happened? What sent you into that cascading series of events? You know, did he remind you of your abuser? Are you just afraid of intimacy? That could be. Then let's go back further. Where did that first come from? What was the original wound? Where did you first get hurt? That's the question. That's what needs to be worked on. So Donna, that's what you need to do. And get into a support group. If you are lonely, get with other people. Other people have had the exact same experiences. Go find a good support group for domestic violence or for emotional abuse or for divorce or for whatever the situation is. That's a great way to do it. Yeah, they insist that we give up our education. They insist that we give up our hobbies. So if you have given up your education, if you've given up your hobbies, go back to them. Find them. Do it. Go. It's never too late. It is never too late. It is never, ever too late. I have been low contact with my grandmother for 2 years now. Recent events have made me feel the need for no contact stronger than ever. Of course, she called a short while ago and left a voicemail. I don't want to hear her voice. I'm not ready. This may be off topic, but I have convinced myself I could do low contact, that no contact is a whole new feeling. I feel a tad lost. I'm glad I turned to Facebook and found you. Oh, good. I'm glad I could help. So support group, Carlene, support group, support group, support group, because there's more people out there like us than we realize. And there's more survivors out there. And there's definitely more narcissists than I think anybody at first suspected. And the reason why is because it's underreported. Because narcissists, yes, they will say, oh, yes, I'm a narcissist and be proud of it because they're idiots. But what they will do is they will go to therapy, and then as soon as the therapist turns the spotlight onto them and says, what's your part in this? They go, I'm out of here. And they don't get help. So I think it's underreported. I really, truly do. I think there is definitely a lot more abusers out there than is reported. If they are telling you that you are too sensitive and selfish, they are projecting. Yes, yes, it's about them. It's not about you. And you have a right to your feelings. You do. I mean, if somebody is voicing that they are harmed or they are hurt or they are, you know, that something that was said was harmful or hurtful, then it's important to validate that. Oh my gosh, that's not what I meant. I love you. I respect you. Love and respect, they're the same thing. And I want to hear you, also huge. So I love you, I respect you, I want to hear you, I want to understand you. So if your family and friends and your lover are not doing that, then guess what? There's no love there, because love and respect and hearing the person are all rolled into one. It's true, because that's good communication. Just like in real estate, location, location, location. In healthy relationships, it's communication, communication, communication. Okay, how do I stop feeling guilty? He went out homeless and blames me, has no means of support, preys on the fact that no one helps him. Okay, so here's the deal. That is part of the codependency. So codependency and CPTSD go hand in hand. And the abusers will blame anybody and everybody they think they can in order to abdicate responsibility for their own lives. If he is an adult, then he is 100% responsible for himself. Especially if warnings have been given about, hey, I don't want you living with me anymore. Hey, we're done. Hey, whatever. Then yeah, yeah. It's projection, and it's abdication, and it's not owning personal responsibility, not taking personal responsibility. And that's what abusers do. They never, ever, ever, ever raise their hand and go, yo, my bad, clean up in aisle 3. They never do that. They never do that. What they'll do is they'll go, well, it's their fault in aisle 3. It wasn't me. It was them, or it's you, or it's this, or it's that, or it's the cat, or it's the dog, or it's the lamppost, or it's, you know, crazy shit. They'll never take responsibility. They just don't. They can't. It's not in their DNA. So it's not your fault, babes. It's not your fault. If this guy is homeless, it's his choice. And if nobody helps him, that's a huge clue. So in other words, he's probably burned through all of his friends. That's my guess. So there that is. Don't feel guilty. Do not write it out. Say goodbye to the guilt. Write the guilt a goodbye letter. Let this be your declaration for 2018. It's like, fuck you, guilt. We're done. I'm breaking up with you. I'm not going to feel guilty anymore. Here's what you have done to me, motherfucker. Yeah, and you just write it out. It's like you do a goodbye letter to the guilt. Goodbye. Not doing it. Nope. Done. Finito benito. You don't need to feel guilty. You don't. Okay. There is a YouTube channel from Surviving to Thriving. Michelle has great vids on co-parenting in the court system. Fantastic. Good to know. So yeah, here's the thing, guys. The court systems are screwed. And I think this new year, what we need to do is we need to educate as many people as possible. Support group for family abuse. You just gotta type it in and look for it. You just gotta type it in and look for it. Honestly, there's support groups for damn near everything. I found support groups for almost everything online. So, okay. Important to stay single. Yes. Not all men and women are the same. Watch out for the love bombing. Yeah. So this is what I keep saying is that in this next year, if you have gotten out of a relationship or you're leaving an abusive relationship, stay single because your picker is broken. You're not going to be able to pick the correct friends. You're not going to be able to pick the right lover. You're not going to, do you see where I'm going with this? Because we tend to ignore the gut and we're used to what the familiar. Better the devil we know than the devil we don't. And the truth of the matter is the devil we don't is oftentimes better than the devil we know. So it's really important to stay kind of detached and really hang back and watch. Actions always speak louder than words. Always. Always, 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 always. You watch people's actions. You do not listen to their words. You watch their actions, and that will tell you who they are. Because abusers can't maintain it. They can maintain it for a short amount of time, but they can't keep it up. They just can't. And you watch their actions. You watch them in stressful situations. You watch how they handle stress. You watch how they handle calamity. You watch how they handle tragedy. You watch how they handle waiters. You know, you watch things like that, people that cannot possibly do anything for them. Now, they could be communal narcissists in that they'll treat the waiters really well if they're trying to impress people and then be awful at home. But again, that's an action. You watch that. How are they? Are they consistent? Healthy people are generally consistent. You know who they are, and they're going to be who they are pretty much their entire existence with you. But with an abuser, it's Jekyll and Hyde. It's 1 second one is okay and the next second it's not, and now it's not okay and this is not, and this is, you know, it's not consistent. It's crazy making, it's gaslighting, it's lying, it's never being satisfied. It's, you know, you watch the behavior, you don't listen to the words. They lie prettily they lie, but they can't maintain the behavior. They cannot maintain healthy behavior. So watch the behavior. Oh, and that brings me to another thing, is addiction. So in this year, how are you taking care of yourself? How are you taking care of yourself? Because oftentimes when we are with an abuser, they insist that we indulge in their addiction, whether that addiction is alcohol or smoking or drugs or whatever. So what did your abuser get you addicted to? You might want to break that. You might want to figure out, hey, this is not me. This is not what I want to do. This is not healthy. I don't want to get popcorn lung. I don't want to die of alcoholism or complications from diabetes. Who are you? Really take care of your body. We do not do that as survivors of abuse because we've been so focused on the outside and we've been so focused on making that other person happy, which will never happen. They are chronically unhappy. You got to watch for that. It's like if nothing's ever good enough, that's a clue. If they're constantly nitpicking and nothing's ever good enough and the food wasn't quite right and it was too cold and it was this and it was that, and that, are they always finding the shit or are they always finding the silver lining? If they're finding the silver lining, they're a keeper. If they're always finding the shit in everything, then they're not. So yeah. Okay. How are you supposed to handle a wedge driving sister-in-law? Oh, sorry. How are you supposed to handle a wedge driving sister-in-law that's playing emotional warfare on your mother-in-law, whom you've known for 20 years and used to have a great relationship before the sister-in-law came in? Can you be traumatized by anger? Yeah, of course. You can be traumatized by anything. So, so I'm not quite sure what the situation is. It sounds like a sister-in-law is coming in and vying to kind of like usurp your relationship with the mother-in-law. Is that what I'm hearing? So it's kind of, it's like, it is what it is. And is this something that you really want to let get under your skin? Is this something that you can address? Is this something that the mother-in-law is willing to listen to? Or is she completely bamboozled by this other daughter-in-law? I don't know. You might want to consider family therapy. That might not be a bad way to start going. It's like, if you feel like this needs to be aired and it needs to be out in the open, because here's the thing, in abusive families, everything's a secret. Everything's a secret. It's a he said, she said, triangulation, playing operator, and this person said this about you and you said this about that person, and yada, yada, yada. And if that's the stuff that's going on, then get with a family therapist, get everybody in the room and just call it out. Just air it, be done with it. And it might blow up some relationships, but maybe that's what needs to happen. So, okay, right. I used to hear, I will love you if or when you do, and the mark kept getting moved without my knowledge or consent. Yeah, and this is what abusers do. So this is why it's so hard for us to set goals, which I'm going to be talking about a little later this coming year, because I know that, this today and tomorrow, we're all going to be setting our New Year's resolutions, yada, yada, yada. And then we wonder why a few weeks into it or a few months into it, we're like, well, crap, none of it's happening. I've given up, blah, blah. Part of it is because of the way our family would, again, original caregivers, set us up for the, here's the goal. Oh, no, you reached it. So here's this goal. No, now we're over here. No, it's over here. They keep changing it on us. And so we never knew how to reach a goal because it was never reachable. It was never okay. My dad did the same thing. Oh, well, I'd love you a lot more if you were thin. Wow. A little scary. And then he wondered why I had a weight problem my entire life until recently. So anyway, that's what they do to us. They conditional love. It is conditional. It is absolutely conditional. Now, that is not to be confused with drawing boundaries, because what abusers will do is, well, you're being conditional because you won't let me fill in the blank. No, there's boundaries. There's self-esteem and there's boundaries. And then there is conditional love. Conditional love is this arbitrary and capricious thing where the abuser just goes, well, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. You're not good. You need to reach this goal. You need to do this. You need to make this much money. You need to take me here. You need to do this. Da, 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 da. You don't do enough for me. Me, I more my genitals, basically. So there's a difference between drawing boundaries and conditional love. Conditional love is a personal insult to that person. Like, they're not ever good enough, and they're never, that's conditional. It's like, I'll love you when, I'll love you if, that kind of thing. But drawing boundaries, that's you loving yourself and going, I will not be treated poorly. Sorry. I will not be called names. I will not be lied to. I will not, period. So there's that. You hear often of women who go from one physically abusive relationship to another. I've also heard of women and men who go from one emotionally abusive relationship to another. Is the reason for the constant repeating of unhealthy relationships the same in the both case? Yes. So basically, abuse is abuse is abuse is abuse, just like addiction is an addiction is an addiction is an addiction. So recently, the World Health Organization came out with that they're now classifying video games as an addiction, that there's an addiction. You can have an addiction to video games. And to me, it's kind of like, I don't think they need to do a completely separate classification, because it's all the same. It's the dopamine and the endorphins getting stimulated. So it's that intermittent positive rewards. If you think about it, video games deliver intermittent positive rewards. So you get to unlock levels, you get little goodies, you get, keys, you get, it's just like gambling. It's just exactly like gambling. So when we go from one abusive relationship to another, whether they're physically or whether they're emotionally abusive, it's because we haven't worked on the original wound. We haven't worked on that original abandonment. We have not worked on that original caregiving situation. Now, I was reading a really fascinating article, and I think I posted it on AHA Counseling. Okay, guys, I post on different places and I post different things on different sites. So I've got the LPC page, which I'll try to post more personal stuff. I've got my AHA Counseling page on Facebook, which I try to post more of the psychology stuff. And then, of course, I've got this page. So, and sometimes I'll forget to post to all three. So if you're missing on articles, they're on AHA Counseling. So the one I was reading about was called Emotional Incest. And what it is that it's when the parent has become the absolute victim and the child then becomes the caregiver and in essence becomes the adult of the family. Remember, it's codependency. And so the parent keeps demanding more and more and more and more emotionally from the child, and the child is unable to give it because of cognitive development. A child cannot possibly fulfill the emotional needs of an adult because they don't have that brain stuff going yet. Your brains aren't fully formed until you're in your late 20s. So when we keep repeating the pattern and repeating the pattern and repeating the pattern and repeating the pattern, it's because we've never dealt with the codependency that arose in the original relationship, in that original insecure attachment. That's got to be fixed. If it is not fixed, you will continue the pattern over and over and over and over again because you're trying to fix that original wound by dating somebody who's just like the person you did not have the good relationship with. That's just the way it goes. That is absolutely the way it goes. And there's 1,000 million studies on it. So just go look it up. But I posted one on Psychology, or not Psychology Today. I posted one on AHA Counseling from, was it Psychology Today? It was some other website. Maybe it was Flying Monkeys. But it was talking about codependency, and it was talking about how that sets that child up with the insecure attachment, with the fearful insecure attachment, to continually seek out similar relationships. And because the inner child is trying to fix that original wound. So you've got to do the inner child work. If you do not do the inner child work, you are going to continually be in abusive relationships, whether emotionally or physically, because that inner child is the one that's driving the show. And that's what I want you guys to work on this year. Go do inner child work. Work on that original wound. Get that little guy safe and secure and grown up so that you can work through stuff as an adult and not as a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old. You want to be an adult working through this stuff. You don't want your inner child running the show, because inner children are going to be ego-driven, and they are going to be, I want what I want when I want it, and when do I want it now? And that whole, oh my God, I'm going to die alone thing. That's the inner child. That's not an adult speaking. That's an inner child. So I hope that answered the question. Pointing the you guns, they are never responsible for anything. Yeah, abusers will try to make us responsible for their well-being. We are not. They are adults. It is their problem. How do you get past the block that emotional, verbal, mental abuse is more than enough to leave and divorce? We've only been married 6 months, but in that time, he has smashed my things, threatened my security, tried to kick me out of the home, belittled me, yelled at me, gaslighted, etc. Honey, that's abuse. Let me just clarify right here, right now. I'm sorry, but if they're destroying personal property, if they're throwing things at you, if they're threatening your security and they're gaslighting you, that's abuse. That is pure and simple. That is abuse. He's never physically hurt me. He doesn't have to. That is emotional abuse. And I think in a way it is keeping me stuck because people encourage me to work on things. What people? Because I'll tell you what, a good mama or a good daddy would be a girl. If it hurts, it ain't love. Let me just say that again. If it hurts, it ain't love. There's a great post, and I don't know whether Liam Neeson really said this or not, but it's a post about, love, and it was saying how, love hurts, and he's like, bullshit, real love does not hurt. And he's right. If he actually said it, or whoever wrote that meme, plus the fact Liam Neeson, bonus. But, if it hurts, it ain't love, guys. If it hurts, it ain't love. If it's anything less than respectful, it is abuse. Sorry. period. Not sorry. Yeah, so that would be abuse, sweetie. You would be wise to get with a good counselor and somebody who understands domestic violence and start working on a safety plan and getting safe. So don't listen to the people who are encouraging you to work it out. Who are they? What's their agenda? Why do they want you to stay in a relationship where things are being smashed, you're being gaslighted and belittled? Things that make you go, Yeah, believe what they do and not what they say. My mom is wonderfully helpful to everyone, but a total tyrant behind closed doors. Now I know it's actually fun to watch how she operates. Yeah, that would be called a communal narcissist. So communal narcissists are the ones that are outwardly, helpful to everybody, but they treat their family like doo-doo. So yeah. Painkillers. Yeah, they get us hooked on painkillers. They get us hooked on drugs. They get us hooked on alcohol. They get us hooked on smoking. They get us hooked on all sorts of stuff. I have seen abusers shove alcohol at a known diabetic and demand that they drink it, because they're drinking it and they want everybody to be exactly like them. Or because they smoke, they will shove their smoking onto the target of abuse. So what habit have you picked up? What other flea have you picked up from the abuser that needs to go bye-bye in 2018? Because remember, these people are trying to kill us. They're trying to kill us subconsciously or consciously. They're trying to kill us, and they will do things that will harm our health, and they will do things that will harm our physical well-being. So now that they are out of our life, get rid of the habits that are associated with them. Get rid of the things that you used to do with them that are not you. If it's something you enjoyed, okay, great. But if it's not, and it's something you did so that you had an excuse to be with them or have some sort of common ground with them, get rid of it. Get rid of it. Okay. All right. Podcast called Mental Illness Happy Hour at mentalpod.com has a great episode on emotional incest. Didn't even know that was a thing until I listened to the podcast. Check it out. Yeah, absolutely. When, the reason we got set up to be codependent is because of our caregivers. And if they made us the adult, if we were the ones that were having to adult when we were, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, or even earlier, then yeah, we get set up to be codependent, very much so. My ex played on CPTSD that I already had surrounding school and career from Orthodox Jewish traumatic schooling. Instead of being encouraging or proud of my accomplishments, he was always threatened to abandon me for not having an amazing career. Yet, paradoxically, whenever he came home while I was studying for my classes towards my career, he would be exceptionally angry, condescending, and quietly moody, not supportive at all. He said that his constant emotional coldness was because I didn't accomplish enough to earn his affection. Wow, that's conditional love. That right there, that's conditional love. But he also said if you were going to get a career, you would have gotten it already. Not true. I know plenty of people that have finally found their career in their 50s or 60s. How can us survivors get over the shame about still finding out our way to a career path after being told that our abandonment is our fault for not being perfect, rich, fabulous, successful, etc.? Okay. CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. There's a great chapter in there on getting rid of the shame and turning the shame into righteous anger and putting it back on the abuser. Because remember, with narcissistic personality disorder, they will not accept anything less than perfect, even though they're the most imperfect things walking the face of the planet, because they feel it's a reflection on them. So it's this sense of entitlement. It's this sense that, everyone else has to be as perfect as I view myself in my own head. And if they're not, they will punish the living shit out of them for not being perfect, abandoning, et cetera, et cetera. So you turn that back. That's what he did was not normal. That is not normal. The shame is not yours. The shame is his. Give it to him. Write him a goodbye letter and burn it. Don't send it. Write him a goodbye letter. Dear ex, here's your shame right back at you. Guess what? I'm finding myself. Have a nice life. Go fuck yourself sideways with an unlubricated baseball bat. Love me. Or whatever it is you need to say. Take it out to the barbecue, read it out loud once, burn it. So you turn the shame into righteous anger. Who does that? That's all conditional. That's all conditional love. That's not real love. That's unconditional love. I mean, that's conditional love. That's not real love. Real love is unconditional. That, what you just described, is totally conditional. That's totally, if you do this, then I'll love you. Or you didn't do this, so I abandoned you. So essentially, his actions are your fault. Bullshit. His actions are his actions, and he chose. He absolutely chose. So what he's describing, what you're describing, is conditional love. That's not love. That's not love. It is not. If it hurts, it ain't love, period. One-upmanship, huge red flags. Yes, they will get into competition with us, and they will take over hobbies. They will take over careers. They will take over, et cetera, et cetera. So let's say you're into drawing, suddenly they want to do oil work, or, you're into art and suddenly they're trying to post all of their artwork and stuff, or you're writing a book and suddenly they're trying to write a book. I mean, granted, there are times when couples are actually creatively on the same wavelength and you're both doing it, but it's not a competition. It's not a who can get their book out first. It's not a who can one-up somebody. It's a supportive kind of flow thing. So yeah, my mother encouraged me to take Valium. Oh, bunny, I'm sorry. And not from a doctor. Oh boy, I'm sorry. Yeah, get off that shit. That'll kill you. Left a 4-year relationship with a diabolical, pathological liar. I was brainwashed, so angry I was duped. What to do with the anger at him and at me? Okay, so here's the deal. You got to get through the anger. You got to get through the anger, because I hate it when people are like, oh, I need to get to the forgiveness. I just need to forgive. I just need to forgive. No, you're not going to get to forgiveness until you get through the anger. Acknowledge it, validate it. Absolutely. Now, anger for yourself, yeah, you can have a little bit of anger or disappointment, for getting involved in the relationship or for allowing it to go on for as long as it did. However, that's victim shaming. So we need to stop that. So you want to go, okay, yeah, this sucks. I was in a relationship for 4 years. I wish it wasn't that long. It is what it is. Can I love myself and forgive myself? Can I have compassion for me, knowing that I was groomed to get into this kind of a relationship? Can I have compassion for myself? Yeah, you can. You can choose. You can choose to have compassion. For the abuser, you can choose to write an angry letter and burn it. Do not send it. It's not going to do any good, guys. There's no there for them to get it. Believe me, if there was, they wouldn't be abusers. So you write it out, dear abuser, this, that, and the other thing. Here's the good, the bad, the ugly, the horrific. And at the very, very end, goodbye. You trot it out to the barbecue. You read it out loud once. You burn it. You let it go. Let it go. And then every single time that anger starts coming up, remember, the amygdala is stupid. It cannot tell the difference between a future event, a past event, a real event, an imagined event, an emotional event, a real emotional event, or an imagined emotional event. It's all the same. So when we get angry again, it's because the amygdala is getting flared, it's getting activated, and it's going, it's happening right now. And so then we get all angry. That's why when we daydream and we're having an angry daydream, we get the physiological response, because the amygdala is going, oh crap, it's happening right now. Oh my God. So what you want to do is you just acknowledge it. Yep. I am really pissed that happened. You betcha. And now I get to let it go. And I do not need to engage my amygdala. Stand down, amygdala. It's okay. It's okay. Just shh. It's all right. So yeah, that's that thing. So, okay. Good. You refuse to take the Valium. That's good. The weird thing was looking into my past, knowing how abusers act, that my own mother had encouraged a Valium habit. It doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me. It's, when we start doing the inner child work, and this is what's going to move us forward in this next year. This is what's going to help get us out of the abusive relationship and stay out of an abusive relationship. Because once we start working on that inner child work, once we start working on our childhood, once we start seeing the dynamics of the dysfunctional family and we see where we got suckered into the codependency, then we can start healing ourselves, and we can start assigning responsibility, not blame, responsibility to the correct parties. Because what we tend to do as kids is we go, everything's our fault. And abusers love to play on that. And because we've got a wounded inner child, that inner child immediately goes, oh, it's my fault, it's my fault, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. So that's why it is hugely important in this next year, we work on that inner child. We get back to what that original wound was. Where was the grooming behavior? Where did we learn this stuff? Which parent did we have the most problems with and why? Super important. Okay. I always hated that stupid, it's your fault for not forgiving me. And she didn't change her behavior until I actually gave her the cold shoulder. Well, yeah, because now you dried up her supply. Yeah. So here's the thing. There is a difference between cold shoulder, stonewalling, and ending something for self-preservation. Okay. So cold shoulder and stonewalling are done to force a person to change their behavior. And usually, not always, but usually it's the abuser who does it to the target of abuse because they're trying to hurt them. And because the targets of abuse are very sensitive and usually empaths and kind and gentle, they suffer greatly when the object of their affection is stonewalling them and basically saying, you're not worthy to be spoken to. So it's an ego hurt. It's a way to hurt them. It's a way to hurt their soul. So, but when the target of abuse does it to the abuser, yeah, they may change their behavior temporarily, but trust me, they will then eventually turn around and punish you for doing that because how dare you get the upper hand and how dare you play their game. So that's what they do. Yeah. And here's the thing, forgiveness and compassion. I think where people get screwed up is when people hear the word forgiveness, they think it's a hall pass. They think it's oh, I forgive my abuser, so it's okay, everything that they did. No, it's not. Forgiveness is not about the other person. It's about us, guys. Forgiveness is for you. Forgiveness is for you. It's like, are you going to allow the abuser to stay in your head and rent space up there for free? Are you going to allow that abuser to still live in there with the anger? Are you going to allow that? Or are you going to evict them and say, okay, you know what? I'm letting you go. Peace out. I'm letting you go. Have a nice life. Go live your life. Go bye-bye. Do you see where I'm going with that? And then the difference between ending a friendship when you have to, if there is name calling going on, if there's lying going on, if they are breaking those deal breakers, yeah, you end the friendship and you stop talking to them because it's damaging. Absolutely. So again, that's why this is the year of deal breakers. This is what I want you guys to do. As soon as this show is over, I really would love it before you go out and party tonight, is to go sit down somewhere quiet and beautiful if you can and write out, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want for this year? Do you want to go back to school? Do you want to work on getting healthy? Do you want to start picking up a hobby again? What did you always want to do when you were a little kid that you haven't done? Is there a place that you've always wanted to travel to that you have not been to? What do you want? Did you want to write that book? Do it. Write down the things that you want to do, because your life has always been about dealing with the abuser and making them happy and their wants and their needs and their this and their that and they're never going to be satisfied, and they will sabotage. I've seen it in action. They will sabotage anytime the target of abuse starts making progress towards that great American novel or doing the career or the hobby that they've always wanted to do. They will sabotage it. They will absolutely blow it up. Absolutely blow it up. That's what they do because they're jealous, because they can't have it themselves. Okay. My husband put marijuana in my food without my knowledge. I had never even tried it before. I ended up thinking I was going crazy or going to die. He told me because I wanted to go to the hospital. He said he wanted to help me relax. That is technically considered poisoning. When somebody puts stuff in your food without your knowledge, that's considered poisoning. So yeah, that's a little scary. Polish proverb, not my circus, not my monkeys. Yeah, I like that one. Okay. Sam Elliott quote, find a man that ruins your lipstick, darling, not your mascara. Whew. Sam Elliott just went to my happy place. Whew. Okay. Thank you, Kat. My ex tried to hoover me on Christmas Eve, which I didn't fall for. He said he had gone zero agenda, and then 3 days later, when he was drunk, just story changed. I can't believe I was ever with him. Ew. Well, good job, Monica. Good job for seeing it and good job for not falling for it. Like I said, between now and March is when most of the hoovering is going to happen. Tonight, I'm fairly certain that a lot of us are going to be getting texts or phone calls or drunk dialing or whatever from exes. Don't fall for it. Don't answer it. Block, 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 block. You are under no obligation to pick up the phone, answer the text, answer the email. No, you don't have to, or respond to the I am. You just don't. You don't have to. It's you're moving on. You're just moving on. Okay. Do you have any thoughts or advice on pursuing a new career while managing CPTSD, anxiety, chronic physical health issues from the abuse? I want to explore new things, but know I have to be careful to avoid burnout, which now happens super easy for me. Well, okay. You want to keep working on the CPTSD and anxiety and the health issues because they're all interrelated. You start working on the CPTSD and the health and the anxiety and the health issues generally tend to clear up. So really focus on your physical health and your mental health. Physical and mental hygiene. Are you keeping things clean? Seriously, it's how are you keeping things clean? So you want to do that. All right. On the topic of emotional incest, how can we move past feeling guilty for our own success when our parents are extremely depressed over their own failures, constantly in emotional pain, psychotic, especially when we were made to be the parents and not allowed to have our own needs? It feels like my happiness is like having a feast when someone you love is starving, almost like it's unfair or immoral. When people you love so much are hurting, how can I find excitement and hope about the idea of success without worrying that I'm symbolically hurting or abandoning them? Okay, here's the deal, guys. Everyone is responsible for their own stuff. Everyone is responsible for their own stuff. And if somebody is not doing well, it's kind of on them, okay? We don't need to feel guilty for doing well. That is a misnomer. That is a mistake. That is don't even know how to explain it. It's a mistaken belief. It's a mistaken belief and a mistaken thought. So it is really, really important to get in touch with that guilt and tell it to go away. You are not responsible for them. You're not. You're not. You're really not. And if they're not doing anything to help themselves, you can't help them. Here's the thing. You cannot help the unwilling. You cannot. And if they're constantly, it's that old joke about, the drowning guy and all these people come by and throw him things to help him. And then he dies and goes to heaven and goes, Jesus, why didn't you save me? And he's like, look, man, I sent you all these people to save you. See, they've got to save themselves. You cannot make yourself feel guilty for doing well. So and if they're causing guilt for you because you've been doing well, that's not healthy. That's not normal. So, all right, let's see. I can't believe I stayed in my abusive marriage for 18 years knowing 5 years ago he was a narcissistic abuser. After searching on Google, he's now in love again after 11 weeks when I left him 12 weeks ago. She announced she has found her soulmate. It's all such a sick game. I haven't blocked. I'm no contact. I've tried to go into my inner self and release. I've released my childhood trauma and forgiven myself. However, I'm still hurt by all that he has done. I feel lost. Any advice, please? Thank you. Okay, support group. You want to get with a support group. You just do. Get with a support group and get with a therapist. And this is the game they play. It's like they go from one supply to another, one supply to another, one supply to another, one supply to another, one supply to another. So that's just what they do. Yeah. And you're going to be hurt, sweetie. That's normal. So grief, you're grieving, grieve, but recognize you've dodged a bullet. So if this person is finding somebody else within a week of leaving you, then they're not the ones for you. If it hurts, it ain't love. So work on you, work on self-esteem, work on all of that stuff. Or hoovers by proxy. Yes, hoovers by proxy are definitely going to happen. That's what I experienced with a psychopath. He wanted to sabotage me. One of my passions is doing photography. When he saw I was becoming fairly successful on Instagram, he told me literally, I see you have a lot of followers. Let's make those numbers drop. Yeah. So I was so brainwashed. I just thought he was joking. Yeah. So that's what they do. So Anyway, all right, guys, I am losing my voice. You guys have got things to do. I am going to send you off out into the universe. So go have a wonderful New Year's Eve. Remember, this is the year of working on you, getting things out of your head onto paper. Go do you. Go work on you. So that's what I want you to do. So go be awesome. Go be amazing. Work on the self-esteem, work on the codependency, work on that original wound so that you don't keep getting hurt, you don't keep getting back into bad relationships. Make sure that you've got your list of deal breakers and your boundaries, and that will keep you from getting into another bad relationship. All right, kiddos, I am peace out of here. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. Be careful. Watch out for drunks. Don't drink and drive. And I will see you next week. And I have absolutely no idea what the topic is next week, but I'll post something as soon as I figure out what I did. So, okay, have a great week, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.